Ladies and gentlemen, to Longbox Chronicles Month here on Reaction and Review. Before we talk about tonight's film, I do need to discuss something real quick with you guys. Because you see, for those of you who are catching this video when it first goes up, you may have noticed that there wasn't a new reaction and review put up a couple of days ago. The reason for that is because I was horrendously sick and I was not able to stay upright or conscious long enough to film a new episode, let alone edit it and upload it. So unfortunately, there was no new episode a few days ago, and I had to cut one movie from this month's schedule. I am terribly sorry about that. I do know a lot of you guys look forward to new reaction and reviews every Wednesday and Sunday. But unfortunately, circumstances kind of stopped that from happening. Hopefully that will not happen again. Specifically because I never want to be that sick again. Holy shit, that really fucking sucked. Anyway, now let's talk about tonight's movie. Tonight's movie is a British horror anthology released in 1973. That movie is Vault of Horror, which is a follow-up to 1972's Tales from the Crypt, which I watched earlier this month and fucking loved. Now, for those of you who've been following this series for a long time, I think it's a pretty safe bet to know I love anthology films. I absolutely love the very concept of anthology films. And as I stated in the review of Tales from the Crypt, I also love the old horror comics published by EC way back in the day. So, to have another feature-length film made up of stories taken directly from those old EC titles, that fills me with absolutely no end of joy. Not only that, but this Blu-ray also has the uncut version of the film. I'm not really sure what the difference is between the theatrical cut and the uncut version, but what the hell, I'm going to go with the uncut version because I feel like it. I'm certainly hoping for this movie to be good. I'm hoping for it to be at least as good as the Tales from the Crypt movie I watched earlier this month. But the only way I'm going to find out, guys, if this sucker is any good at all, is if I shut up and I push play. And I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Vault of Horror. Okay, you know, guys, this whole story was really interesting and everything, until everybody shows up with the really fake vampire fangs. I'm talking, these fangs look like shit. And it kind of ruins this entire story. Okay, well that shot's alright. I sure as hell am not going to spoil it for you. If you guys want to know, you just gotta see this for yourself. That is awesome. The shot is still kind of ruined though, by the fact that everybody, except for our victim, we got these giant, fake-as-shit-looking fangs. But so far, at least the first story was pretty good. That was a really interesting ending. I really liked it. Okay, that story was fucked up. Funny, at times. And definitely interesting. But man, that ending was kind of fucked up. I really liked it, man. I am really digging this, guys. I am fucking loving this thing. You know, guys, I am almost 100% convinced that I remember seeing this very same story used in an episode of Tales from the Crypt. But I also remember it being a lot more interesting in that episode of Tales from the Crypt. This is coming off as exceptionally dull. This, honestly, is probably the weakest story out of all of them so far, and I can't wait for it to be done. You know what, guys? I'm going to say this right now. For the final story of this film, at least I'm going to assume based on how much time has passed, this is the final story in this film. I am absolutely loving it. This is probably the most fascinating story out of all of them. And Tom Baker is absolutely killing it as the main character of this film. I absolutely fucking love this, man. This is fucking amazing. Well, guys, that was the Vault of Horror. Let's shut that off. Oh, dude. Man, that ending was awesome. Well, I mean the ending of the last story. The ending of the framing story I kind of saw coming about 10 miles out, but that's because I watched Tales from the Crypt earlier this month, and the framing story as well as the twist at the end are very, very similar. Not going to go into spoilers on that. Let's just say the framing story was ridiculously lazy. However, though, everything else that was in this film, really solid. I do have to stress, I mentioned during one of these stories that it felt shockingly like a story that was used for HBO's Tales from the Crypt series. While I was watching this, I actually looked up an episode guide, searched for every potential keyword that tied in with that story. There was no episode based on that story. I was woefully mistaken. The episode I was thinking of Tales from the Crypt, by the way, wound up actually, as I was finding ones that were similar, it did remind me of one of my all-time favorites, which was from the first season, shockingly enough. So now that gives me even more reason to go out and buy the Tales from the Crypt DVDs, because it's been a while since I watched that fucking show. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Tales from the Crypt. I'm here to talk about the Vault of Horror, and oh, dude, this was such an awesome movie. Let me just tell you guys right now, first of all, I kind of had a feeling this was going to be really good just simply because of the source material. Because you base anything on stuff published by EC Comics back during their golden age, and my God, you're pretty much guaranteed awesomeness, as was proven with the Tales from the Crypt movie in '72, this, and of course HBO's Tales from the Crypt series. All of these were taking stories directly from EC's various horror and shock comics from back in the day, and oh my God, almost every story is fucking amazing. When it comes to this movie specifically, almost every story is great. The only one I'd say kind of sucks is that one that I thought was used for an episode of the show, which I'm just going to give you the plot. This guy goes and he takes some drugs which fakes a heart attack. He's basically trying to do this big like insurance scam. And his friend cuts out on him and takes the friggin' money without digging him back up. There also is a little bit more in there, but I really don't want to spoil the whole, story. That one, honestly, out of all these stories, that one is the one that comes off the weakest. The best has got to be the last story, though, which features Tom Baker. Those of you who are fans of Doctor Who know him as the Fourth Doctor. Tom Baker plays this artist who's been wronged by, it was an art dealer, an art critic, and I believe it was also an art appraiser. He gets literally fucked over by all three of them. So he goes to this like witch doctor, and essentially has his painting hand, his drawing hand, turned into this like voodoo, tool. So now if he draws or paints something, and then he like tears it up, shreds it, erases it, if something happens to that piece of art, it will happen to whatever the subject of the piece was. So basically, it's kind of sort of what Death Note did, only decades before, and a little bit more interesting. In all seriousness, it was a fantastic fucking story. But then again, I really like damn near all of these stories. Once more, the only one that sucked was that one about being buried alive and trying to claim insurance money. That one was the one shit story in here. The other ones are all spot on, amazing stuff. Part of that, I think, has to do with our casting, because I'm going to tell you guys right now, when you have people like Tom Baker and Terry Thomas amongst your cast, you are pretty much guaranteed awesome shit. And the fact that the rest of our cast is also able to step up and just turn in amazing work, it really does help make all of these stories just that much better. I think that's also why that one story comes off as kind of weak, because also the acting in it is a little bit weak. Now just sort of going back to writing for a second, because these things are based on EC's various titles, it's pretty much a guarantee that there are going to be some twists, and those twists are going to be inherently cruel but awesome at the same fucking time, and that is exactly how every single one of these is. So yeah, guys, writing here is amazing, especially if you're a fan of EC Comics' old horror stories from way back in the day. These things are amazing adaptations of those stories. I actually have read a couple of these in comic form, and they were awesome then. They're just as badass here. So, writing is really strong, minus one kind of iffy story and the framing story, because the framing story is just kind of a rehash of what was in the Tales from the Crypt film that came out a year before this. Beyond all of that, though, writing is amazing. Acting, I've already touched on acting. The acting here is awesome, once more, minus that one really iffy story. The problem with that one, I really think, was just that the script itself was kind of sort of weak, so the cast didn't really have a whole lot to work with. It really was basically just a story that they could have probably cut, or they could have completely replaced with almost anything else, and it would have worked great. So yeah, guys, acting here is really good. Special effects. I want to talk about special effects for a second. And this is specifically for one story. There's really only one story that has a heavy special effect focus, and it's a really interesting one. And it's the story about it is about a husband and wife who are stage magicians in I believe it was supposed to be India, and they are trying to get this Indian rope trick from this one woman who does it in a back alley. And the woman keeps telling him that there is no trick. The magic is all in the rope. I'm going to give you a little spoiler on this one without going into details, but the fucking rope is sentient. And there are bits when the rope finally lashes out against our two dickheads, where this friggin' rope is actually floating around, and it's kind of sort of moving like a snake. I totally understand that it was probably just simply done by hanging that rope on fishing wire and essentially then just puppeteering it so that way it looks like it's moving. But the fact of the matter is, you do not see any kind of wire holding it, and it looks fucking awesome. It looks kind of shit when the fucking rope actually has to attack somebody, and it's just somebody off camera just sort of tossing the fucking rope at them. But still, the actual shots of the friggin' rope swaying and just kind of sort of looking like it's getting ready to strike looked really frickin' cool. There is also and I never thought I'd mention this in a live action movie. There is an instance of stop motion blood, and it looks awesome. I'm not going to go into details. I'm just going to give you what it fucking looks like. So, the character looks up, and there's this blood spot which slowly begins to spread on the ceiling. Now, they could have easily just poured fucking blood onto a canvas and just let it all seep through or something. No, it was stop motion. They actually were sitting there putting on blood, and then they would take a couple of frames, and it's a stop motion blood patch as it just grows, and it looks awesome. It looks really shit if we were to compare it to today's special effects. But since I know this is a film from 1973, and I'm sort of keeping my mindset on 1973 effects, that was really fucking cool. It was different, and I liked it. There really wasn't much else here in terms of special effects. Everything else here was very, very straight fucking forward in terms of our scares and our gore and everything else. Gore in this film, I should mention, is at a minimum, but that's also because, again, this was made back in 1973, and it was made back in England, and back in the 70s and 80s, England was a little bit squeamish about horror films and gore in general. So, of course, you're not going to see a lot of, rampant fucking gore in this thing. You're not going to see a ton of gore and blood and nastiness, but what is here looks really, really cool. I absolutely loved what did wind up in here. Camera work. Our camera work here is amazing. But then again, that's because it's from the same studio that made the Tales from the Crypt movie in '72. So they basically know how to make this shit look like a live action EC comic. So in terms of things like angle and color and lighting and the set design, everything looks fucking perfect. I will say that the house in Terry fucking Thomas's story is probably one of the most homely houses I've ever seen on the inside, because every single wall is that is like 70s like polka dot bullshit, but oh well, it's absolutely nauseating to look at for more than 2 minutes. But oh well, who cares? At least everything else in terms of like blocking and staging and camera placement, all of that was amazing. Our costuming here looked awesome. Our color work, our lighting, guys, this fucking movie is fantastic from start to finish. If you are a fan of horror films, if you are a fan of classic EC Comics horror, if you are a fan of the 1972 Tales from the Crypt film, you need to watch Vault of Horror. This thing is a spectacular follow-up. I absolutely loved it. In fact, I will say it's probably a little bit better than Tales from the fucking Crypt was. Mind you though, it's not, I mean, it seriously is not like worlds fucking better, but it is a little bit better because most of these stories are infinitely better than what was in the Tales from the Crypt movie. I loved both of them. I can definitely recommend both of them. Thank fuck you can buy them both in a 2-pack on Blu-ray. Speaking of that, besides the fact that, yes, I can definitely recommend you buy this. This 2-pack came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in was Kevin. You can find his YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/khayes666. Kevin, I thank you. I was really curious about both of these movies. I had no idea that the Vault of Horror was going to be this awesome. But holy shit, I was stunned. I would not have known that if you hadn't have sent it in. And for that, dude, I thank you. You're fucking awesome. Once more, that is youtube.com/user/khayes666. Oh my god, man. Oh, you know what, guys? Now right here, guys, here is the awesome part. September is almost over. And October is coming up. October is right around the corner, and October is the month to watch horror movies in your fucking spare time. This thing has got me all pumped and excited for next month, because then I can watch all the horror I fucking want, and I won't be seen as a fucking weirdo. Well, at least not for my love of horror films. I'll be probably looked at as a weirdo for a whole lot of other shit, but oh well, who cares? God, man, this here was an awesome way to close out this fucking month, man. I absolutely love it. And you know what? After missing out on the episode I was going to put up a couple of days ago, you know what? This honestly feels like a fantastic way of getting back in the fucking saddle and getting back into filming, man. This is fucking awesome, man. I cannot wait for next month. Man, I actually kind of want to rewatch Tales from the Crypt again. But first, I'm going to go to Amazon, see if I can get the Tales from the Crypt seasons on DVD, maybe get a couple of the hardcover Tales from the Crypt collections. I am in a massive EC Comics mood, man, and I am going to take every possible opportunity I can to get as much of that shit, because I want to make this October special, and if that means binge watching the shit out of Tales from the Crypt between work and filming these, that sounds fucking awesome. Anyway, guys, with that we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.